Okay, in the previous class, we discussed Simplex method and we discussed actually the algebraic version of the Simplex method. And today we are going to discuss how we solve the Simplex problem by the tabular method. Okay, tabular version of the Simplex method. And this is the one which we have to actually solve in the examination. We have to use it in the examination. So coming back to our own problem, which we have been discussing from past few days, the problem is actually maximize z equal to 10x1 plus 9x2, and after introducing the slack variables, the objective function became 0x3 plus 0x4, and the constraints were the first constraint was 3x1 plus 3x2, and after introducing the slack variable, it became equal to 21. And the second constraint was 4x1 plus 3x2, and we had introduced a slack variable 4 so that it became an equality constraint. Okay, this was the problem here, and the decision variables were x1. These have to be non-negative. Okay, these have to be non-negative. Now what we are going to do here in this tabular method is that what will we do here is I will show you how to draw the table. In fact, I have drawn the table here. Okay, so this is the table which actually it will look like. Okay, it will look like this. So what will be written in the different cells of the table? First of all, what we discussed in the previous class. Okay, this will be the table number 1. We discussed in the previous class that we always start our solution in the simplex method by assuming the slack variables to be the basic variables. Okay, we had assumed that the slack variables should be the basic variables. Okay, therefore here we write the details regarding the basic variables. Okay, you can combine these two cells as well. Okay, the basic variables, the details of the basic variables will be written in the columns. Okay, in these two columns. So first of all, what will we write here is what are the basic variables? Okay, what are the basic variables? Therefore, this is xb. Xb represents which are the basic variables. Okay, b will in our this have the values of 1 2 3 or 4. Okay, depending upon what we use to be the basic variables. और अगर आपको कल याद होगा मैंने कहा था that we start the simplex solution by assuming the slack variables to be the basic variables. Okay, therefore first basic variable will be x3. Okay, and the second basic variable will be x4. X3 is the first basic variable and x4 is the second basic variable. Okay, we had discussed it yesterday. And here we write in this column, we write CB. Okay, it represents the cost coefficient of the basic variable. Okay, it represents the cost coefficient of the basic variable. And you know that the cost coefficients of these basic variables are both 0. Okay, you can see that x3 का भी cost coefficient 0 है and x4 का भी cost coefficient 0 है. Okay, therefore these are the cost coefficients of the basic variable, and this will be 0 and this will also be equal to 0. Okay, and this is what we write here. And once we have written this, what we write here is actually in this table. अब हम यहां से लिखेंगे, ठीक है, हर कोई वेरिएबल लिखेंगे कौन कौन सा था. x1 was there, x2 was there, x3 is there, and x4 is there. Okay, so these first two columns were regarding the basic variables along with their cost coefficients. Okay, now this column, this enlarged column here, will give us the details of all the variables. Okay, so once we have written this x1, x2, x3, and x4, we write here, okay, in this space we will write their cost coefficients. Their cost coefficients will be written in this space. You can see that 10 is the cost coefficient of x1. इसका जो cost coefficient है, that is equal to 9. The cost coefficient of x3 is 0 and the cost coefficient of x4 is 0. Okay, तो पहले दो कॉलम्स में सिर्फ बेसिक वेरिएबल्स के कॉस्ट कोएफिशिएंट्स आएंगे और इस वाले कॉलम में क्या आएंगे, हर किसी वेरिएबल के कॉस्ट कोएफिशिएंट्स आएंगे. ठीक है, so this is the one which we have here. Okay, उसके बाद क्या करना है, what we have to write in the second space. Okay, see here, the first basic variable is x3. Okay, the first basic variable is x3. You can see that the first basic variable is x3 and it is in the first constraint. Okay, it is in the first constraint. You can see that the first basic variable is in the first constraint. So first constraint में x1, x2, x3 और x4 के coefficients क्या है. ठीक है, again see that I will come back to this table. Here we have to write something. Okay, I will write these terms. I have to fill this space, and what will be filled in this space will be the cost coefficients of the first constraint. Okay, cost coefficients of the first constraint, because this x3 belongs to the first constraint. Again, I am repeating that x3, this basic variable x3 has been introduced in the first constraint. Therefore, we will write the cost coefficients of all the four decision variables in this space. Okay, you can see that the first constraint is 3x1 plus 3x2 plus x3, and we can write 0x4 plus 0x4. Okay, therefore the cost coefficients become 3, 3, 1 and 0. So that will be written in this space. So this will be written as 3 and this will be written as 3, this will be written as 1 and this will be written as 0. Okay, so this is what we call what we have to write in this space. Okay, now can you tell me accordingly what will be written in this space here? It's easy.
4, 3, 1.
Okay, the second basic variable is x4 and that belongs to the second constraint here. Okay, and the coefficients of the different variables here are 4, 3, x3 का 0 है, ठीक है, 4, 3, 0 and x4 का 1 है. Therefore it will be 4, 3, 0 and 1. Okay, these are the coefficients in the constraints. Okay, these are the coefficients in the constraints, and we have here one another column that is known as RHS. And another column here is theta. Okay, we'll define both of these. RHS is simply what is the right hand side of the first constraint and the second constraint. Okay, x3 belongs to the first constraint, therefore the right hand side I think was equal to 21 and this is equal to 24. Okay, this is equal to 24. Now what we have to do here is we have to define another row, and this row will be Cj minus Zj. Okay, this row is what? Cj minus Zj. And what does it represent is simply, okay, I will also tell you how to find this Cj minus Zj. So for the time being, what can we say that? See here, what is Cj minus Zj? It will be simply cost coefficient, okay? पहला अगर हम C1 की बात करते हैं, ओके, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट C1, C1 हियर इज एक्चुअली 10, है ना। पहला जो वेरिएबल है उसका कॉस्ट कोफिशिएंट है this 10, okay, this is 10. After that, how we find the zj will be actually z1, zj will be actually z1, okay. J will have values of 1 2 3 and 4, okay, for a particular, okay. इसके लिए होगा c1 minus z1, यहाँ पे होगा c2 minus z2, यहाँ पे होगा c3 minus z3, और यहाँ पे होगा c4 minus z4. And what are these c1 c2 c3 c4? These are simply the cost coefficients 10 9 0 and 0. And how we find z1 is that ये जो 0 है, this multiplied by 3, 0 multiplied by 3 plus this 0 multiplied by 4, okay. This will be given by, this will give us z1. So z1 here is actually what, and this 0 here multiplied by this 3 plus this coefficient here, okay, cost coefficient here multiplied by this 4. So this will be equal to simply 0, okay. z1 का वैल्यू क्या है यहाँ पे 0, तो c1 minus z1 का वैल्यू होगा 10 minus 0, that will be equal to what, simply 10. This will simply be equal to 10, okay. After that, okay, after that we have to find this, okay, that is we have to find c2 minus z2. C2 is simply 9. Z2 will be given by 0 multiplied by 3 plus 0 multiplied by this 3. Again, it is 0. Therefore, 9 minus 0 will again be equal to 9. Okay, this will again be equal to 9. Similarly, मुझे बताओ यहाँ इस स्पेस में क्या लिखेंगे अब? Continuing the same. What is C3 minus Z3? What is C3 minus Z3? Anyone?
0 minus 0 into 1 plus 0 into 0. That is 0.
ये सारा 0 ही हो जाएगा because C3 is 0. Then Z3 will be 0 into 1 plus 0 into 0, that is again 0. Similarly, ये वाला cell भी क्या हो जाएगा? This cell will again be equal to 0. Okay, this cell will again be equal to 0. और finally हमें यहाँ पे क्या लिखना है? यहाँ पे भी 0 into 21, यहाँ पे सिर्फ zj रहेगा, ठीक है? यहाँ पे cost coefficient नहीं है, ऊपर कुछ. This will be simply 0 multiplied by 21 plus 0 multiplied by 24. That will be simply 0. Okay, this will be simply 0 here. Okay, so I think this table is clear to you. What we have done here, simply I can just give a brief recap. We have selected the basic variables and we told that the slack variables will be the basic variables. We wrote x3 and x4 along with their cost coefficients, which are 0 in this case. यहाँ पे इस रो में हमने क्या लिखा? x1 x2 x3 and x4 and their cost coefficients in the objective function, which are 10 9 0 and 0. And in this row what we wrote, हमने देखा first this x3 is the decision variable, it is in the first constraint, तो उस first constraint के हमने coefficients लिखे, okay, 3 3 1 and 0. And similarly for the second row 4 3 0 and 1, okay, 4 3 0 and 1 along with their right hand sides 21 and 24. उसके बाद हमने क्या किया? We found this quantity that is known as Cj minus Zj. इसकी significance भी आपको अभी पता चलेगी. Cj minus Zj, it is simply given by C1 is 10, Z1 will be 0 into 3 plus 0 into 4, that is 0. Therefore, C1 minus Z1 will again be equal to 10. Similarly, we calculated this Cj minus Zj for all these 4 columns. Okay. Now this is the first table here. Okay, this is the first table here, simplex table, first simplex table. What we have to do now, we have to select the entering variable and we have to select the leaving variable. Okay, we have to select the entering variable and we have to select the leaving variable. The entering variable will be, okay, the entering variable will be, I can write it here. The entering a variable will be decided by maximum positive value of Cj minus Zj. Okay, the entering variable will be decided by the maximum positive value of Cj minus Zj. Now, what is the maximum positive Cj minus Zj here? What is the
10.
maximum? Okay, it's simple that it is 10. The maximum Cj minus Zj is 10. Therefore, here we can say that we will have entering variable as what? x1 will be the entering variable. ठीक है, ये 10 किसके column में lie कर रहा है? It is lying in the xy column. Okay, so here in this case we can say that 10 is the maximum value. 10 is the maximum value. It lies in column of x1. Okay, it lies in column of x1, which implies that x1 will become the entering variable. x1 will become the entering variable. Okay, कल भी हमने किया था discuss that we will have one entering variable and we will have one leaving variable. Okay, we'll have one leaving variable. उसके बाद हमें क्या करना है? Now we have to select which is the leaving variable. It's decided that entering variable will be x1. अगर आपने कल का solution भी देखा होगा, you can see that पहली iteration जब हमने की उसमें भी entering variable क्या रहा था? उसमें भी entering variable रहा था this x1. Okay, I can recall that solution here. The entering variable was x1. Okay, see here, किस basis पे decide किया था हमने? Okay, we had decided on the basis of which कौन सा x1 या x2 दोनों में से कौन सा हमें ऑब्जेक्टिव फंक्शन को ज्यादा इंप्रूव करेगा. ठीक है, आप देखो 10 9 0 एंड 0 यही आए थे ना हमारे अभी सिंप्लेक्स टेबल में भी. ठीक है, दैट्स व्हाई वी सिलेक्ट द मैक्सिमम. ठीक है, that's why we select the maximum. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, I'm comparing these two. टेबल में भी हमारे वैल्यूज क्या है? cj minus zj के 10 9 0 and 0. Okay, and we select maximum positive. कल भी हमने देखा हम maximum positive क्यों लेते हैं? It is making the same sense here as well. Okay, now we have to decide for the leaving variable. And the leaving variable will be decided on the basis of theta. This leaving variable will be decided on the basis of theta. Okay, so I would like to write here column 1 becomes this column 1 will become key column. इसको हम कहेंगे that it is key column. Okay, it becomes key column because entering variable यहाँ पे गया, इस column से एक entering variable गया, therefore we term this column as the key column. Okay, this term will be key column. Why? Because x1 enters the basics. x1 enters the basis, therefore it becomes the key column. Okay, and what else is here? The leaving variable will be decided by the value of theta. The leaving variable will be decided by the value of theta. Okay, the one containing minimum positive value of theta will decide the leaving variable. Okay, we will अब हमें क्या करना है, लीविंग वेरिएबल डिसाइड करना है. It can be either x3 or x4. Whether it is x3, whether it is x4, that will be decided by theta. And जो minimum positive value आएगा theta का, वही हमें decide करेगा which will be the leaving variable. Okay, so how we decide theta? See here, I have to fill these two now. Only I have to fill these two spaces. The theta is defined by RHS by the corresponding element in the key column. I will write here theta is equal to RHS by corresponding element in key column. Okay, RHS by corresponding element in key column. So let's calculate the theta for both these. Theta is RHS is 21, and the corresponding element in the key column. Now the first column has become the key column. The corresponding element in the key column is 3. 21 divided by 3, that will be 7. Now tell me what will be this theta for the second row. x4 के लिए theta क्या होगा?
6. 6.
6. Okay, fine. RHS is 24 and the corresponding element in the key column is 4. ठीक है, दूसरे रो में जो की कॉलम का एलिमेंट है that is 4. Therefore 24 divided by 4 will be 6. And the outgoing variable will be decided by the minimum positive value. Okay, minimum positive value. So which will be the outgoing variable? 7 and 6 among them. The minimum positive value is 6 and corresponding to 6 किसके रो में आता है? x4 के रो में आता है. Okay, again I will write here for our first iteration. Okay, minimum positive value for first iteration. Okay, for first iteration, minimum positive value of theta is 6. Therefore x4 will be outgoing variable, or we can say that x4 leaves the basis and x1 will enter the basis. ठीक है, so leaving variable हम ऐसे दिखाते हैं. ठीक है, we show the entering variable like this. Okay, this will enter into the basis and x4 will leave the basis. X4 will leave the basis. Now tell me, okay, and this row will now become the key row. Okay, this row will now become the key row. This row now becomes the key row. Okay, and this column now becomes here, it is key column. Column से enter हुआ, that became the key column. एक row से बाहर गया, that became the key row. And the intersection of the key row and key column, कोई मुझे बता सकता है कौन सा element है intersection of the key column और key row में? See here, this 4 lies in the intersection of key row and key column. Okay, this 4 lies in the intersection of key row and key column, and this 4 is known as the key element. This 4 is known as what? Key element. Okay, we can write it here as well. Intersection of key row and key element, key column in fact, gives the key element, or sometimes it is also known as pivot element. Okay, pivot row, pivot column and pivot element. Okay, key के बदले pivot भी कहीं पे use किया जाता है. Okay, this 4 is what, this 4 is what key element. Okay, और pivot element. So हमने decide कैसे किया outgoing variable 7 और 6 के basis पे, theta के basis पे. Okay, let's see the algebraic version how we decided yesterday. तो देखिए कैसे हमने डिसाइड किया था. यहाँ पे x1 हमने देखा था कि मैक्सिमम 7 जा सकता है पहले कांस्टेंट में, और दूसरे कांस्टेंट में भी हमने देखा था कि x1 मैक्सिमम कहाँ जा सकता है, 6 जा सकता है. फिर हमने सिलेक्ट क्या किया, वी सिलेक्टेड मिनिमम ऑफ 7 और 6. ओके, वी सिलेक्टेड मिनिमम ऑफ 7 और 6. Okay, that came out to be 6, therefore it became the leaving variable. Okay, 6 was corresponding to the second constraint, therefore x4 became the leaving variable. Okay, it's one and the same thing. So I have given you the reference as well कि ये जो tabular method है, it is the same which was going on yesterday. Okay, just it has converted into table. So we have finished what, we have finished the first table. Okay, this is the first simplex table. Now we have finished it. What we are going to do here is, now we are going to draw the second table. Okay, we are now discussing the second table here. I will again introduce this table. Okay, now we have the second table here, and again let me write it fast. What is in the second table? This again will be the cost of basic variable, and these will be the basic variables. These will be the variables which we have, x1, x2, x3 and x4. This will be RHS, and this will be theta, and here we will have Cj minus Zj. Cj minus Zj. Okay, see here in the first table the basic variables were x3 and x4. Okay, basic variables were x3 and x4, therefore x3 will remain as the basic variable. Okay, x3 will still remain as the basic variable. Therefore I will write that अभी replace किसने किया, x1 ने replace किया x4 को, therefore x3 will still be the basic variable. I will write it here. X3 is still the basic variable and x4 has been replaced by x1, therefore x1 will be the new basic variable. Okay, it will be the new basic variable. Now we have to write their cost coefficients. You can see that the cost coefficient of x3 is still 0, and the cost coefficient of x1 in the objective function is 10. Okay, it is equal to 10. So once we are done with this, we have to write these coefficients again. ठीक है, अब हमें coefficients फिर से लिखने हैं. ठीक है, so सबसे पहला step अब आपको याद क्या रखना है, x4 has been replaced by x1. x4 has been replaced by x1. To write coefficients of x1 row, ठीक है, to write the coefficients of x1 row, divide coefficients of x4, which is the previous row, by pivot element. ठीक है, पिछले टेबल में बेसिक वेरिएबल क्या था, x4 था, वो अब रिप्लेस हुआ है नए बेसिक वेरिएबल से x1। तो उस नए बेसिक वेरिएबल्स में जो ये कोफिशिएंट्स होंगे, हाउ टू राइट दीज कोफिशिएंट्स, अब मुझे x1 के यहाँ पे कोफिशिएंट्स लिखने हैं, दे विल बी गिवन बाय डिवाइडिंग द प्रीवियस रो कौन सा था, x1 की जगह x4 था, तो x4 के कोफिशिएंट्स क्या थे, 4 3 0 एंड 1, डिवाइड ईच ऑफ देम बाय व्हाट, बाय द pivot element. The pivot element here is what, 4, ठीक है, you can see that I have written this in the square, मैंने इसको स्क्वायर किया है, therefore this is what the pivot element, ठीक है, x4 has been replaced by x1 to write this row here, okay, the elements in this row will be given by previous row divided by the elements of the previous row divided by what, pivot element। तो बेटा मुझे बताइए यहाँ पे क्या आ जाएगा, what will be here,
1.
okay, very good, we will have here 1 because 4 by 4 is what, 1, then 3 by 4, ठीक है, प्रीवियस एलिमेंट की जो रो है, प्रीवियस रो के जो एलिमेंट्स हैं उनको हर किसी से डिवाइड करना है बाय 4, बाय दिस की एलिमेंट, 3 by 4 that will be right here, 0 by 4 that will be 0 again, 1 by 4 that will be 1 by 4, and RHS will be 24 by 4 that will be equal to 6, this will be equal to 6, okay, is this clear, अभी तक किसी को कोई इशू है, if anyone wants to ask anything, okay, hope this is clear to you। Now see the most important point जहाँ पे बच्चों को गलती हो जाती है, okay, focus this completely, whenever we write the basic variables, okay, whenever we write the basic variables, see in the first the basic variable was what, x3 and x4, I will write it here, first iteration, ठीक है, इनिशियली जब हम पढ़ते हैं ये थोड़ा सा लगता है डिफिकल्ट, बट व्हेन यू डू द क्वेश्चंस योरसेल्फ इट विल बी इजीली हो जाएगा, ठीक है, अभी मैं टाइम ले रहा हूँ, हर कोई स्टेप में बहुत धीरे से बता रहा हूँ। इन द फर्स्ट आइटरेशन द बेसिक वेरिएबल्स वेयर x3 एंड x4, मैंने किस ऑर्डर में लिखे थे बेसिक वेरिएबल्स, x3 एंड x4, तो इनके जो कोएफिशिएंट्स है दे शुड फॉर्म एन आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स, इनके जो कोएफिशिएंट्स है they should form an identity matrix, and you know what identity matrix is, that is this will be 1, this will be 0, this will be 0 and this will be 1, इनके जो कोएफिशिएंट्स है ये क्या बनानी चाहिए, आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स, एंड हर किसी टेबल में ये स्टार्ट में खुद से ही बन जाएगा, देखिए x3 यहाँ पे है, x4 यहाँ पे है, इनके कोएफिशिएंट्स क्या बना रहे हैं, दे आर फॉर्मिंग एन आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स 1 0 0 1, ओके, बट किसके ऑर्डर में, इन द ऑर्डर ऑफ द बेसिक वेरिएबल्स, x3 x4, x3 x4 गो, x3 के नीचे आना चाहिए 1 0, x4 के नीचे आना चाहिए 0 and 1, ठीक है, this will automatically come in the first iteration, it will automatically come in the first iteration, हर कोई टेबल इसी आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स से स्टार्ट होगा, बिकॉज बेसिक वेरिएबल्स के कोएफिशिएंट्स 1 और 0 होते हैं, ओके, दिस स्लैक वेरिएबल्स के। Now the basic variables have changed, the basic variables are x3 and x1, and I have written the basic variables in the order of x3 and x1. The basic variables have been written in the order of x3 and x1. Therefore, we have to make sure that we get an identity matrix in what? In the order of x3 and x1. I will write here second iteration. Order क्या है basic variables का? x3, उसके बाद मैंने लिखा है x1, तो आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स कैसे बनेगा, यहाँ पे 1 होना चाहिए, यहाँ पे 0 होना चाहिए, यहाँ पे 0 होना चाहिए और यहाँ पे 1 होना चाहिए, ओके, दिस इज हाउ द आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स विल बी फॉर्म्ड, ओके, x3 के नीचे 1 0, x1 के नीचे 0 और 1, बिकॉज ऑर्डर मैटर्स हियर, ओके, आई हैव रिटन in the simplex table the order is what, x3 and x1, तो x3 और x1 के ऑर्डर में ऐसे आ जाएगा हमारा आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स, ओके, we have to make sure that our Second simplex table consists of identity matrix in the order of x3 and x1. So let's see what is there. तो याद रखो x3 के नीचे 1 और 0, x1 के नीचे 0 and 1. Let's move. x3 के नीचे मैंने क्या कहा, आना चाहिए 1 and 0. ओके, x3 के नीचे मैंने कहा 1 और 0 आना चाहिए. Therefore यहाँ पे क्या आना चाहिए, 1 आना चाहिए, और यहाँ पे क्या आना चाहिए, 0 आना चाहिए. अब आ गया ना ऑर्डर में, ठीक है. आई टोल्ड यू दैट x3 और x1 के ऑर्डर में आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स आना चाहिए. देयरफॉर x3 के नीचे 1 and 0, 0 is already present here. x1 के नीचे 0 and 1, 1 is already present here. Okay, I will simply mark them because फिलहाल के लिए मैं, ओके, ये स्टेप मत लिखो आप. फिलहाल के लिए मैं, अभी मैंने लाया नहीं, ठीक है, अभी मैंने इसमें ये 0 और 1 लाया नहीं, बट ये चीजें मुझे लानी है यहाँ पे. ठीक है. So the first thing is that what I will do is I will try to get 0 here. Okay, we will always start by we will do such an iteration that we want a 0 here. Okay, we want a 0 here firstly. तो देखिए ये रो कैसा आएगा. ठीक है, see here, listen carefully. We have to do an operation between, देखिए प्रीवियस टेबल में बेसिक वेरिएबल्स x3, दूसरे टेबल में ये बेसिक वेरिएबल स्टिल इज x3. ओके, इसके कोफिशिएंट्स कैसे आएंगे, यहाँ पे 0 आना चाहिए. मैंने आपको बताया भी क्यों 0 आना चाहिए, बिकॉज वी वांट टू गेट एन आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स. अब मुझे क्या करना है, द न्यू रो विच आई हैव फॉर्म्ड हियर. ओके, मैंने अभी अभी कौन सा रो बनाया, अब दिस रो विच कॉरस्पॉन्ड्स टू x1. ओके, द न्यू रो कॉरस्पॉन्ड्स टू x1. ठीक है, अब मैंने नया रो कौन बनाया, दूसरे टेबल में मैंने नया रो बनाया, ये 1, 3/4, 0 एंड 1/4. इस रो को मुझे करना है ऑपरेशन किसके साथ, प्रीवियस x3 के साथ. आई वांट टू डू एन ऑपरेशन विद ऑफ द न्यू रो विद द प्रीवियस x3. सुना, मुझे अब क्या करना है, इस x3 के एलिमेंट्स अब यहाँ पे लिखने हैं. ये कैसे आ जाएंगे, मैंने आपको कहा कि यहाँ पे 0 आना चाहिए. तो बेटा मुझे बताइए, मैं इस रो को, ठीक है, ये जो पुराना x3 है और ये जो मैंने अब नया रो यहाँ पे बनाया, इन दो के बीच में कैसा ऑपरेशन करूं सो दैट आई विल गेट ए 0 हियर. कैन एनीवन टेल?
So x3 को माइनस कर सकते हैं 3 times x1.
वेरी गुड, एक्सीलेंट. If I once from the first table, once we decided for the entering variable and we decided for the leaving variable, the entering variable is x1 and the leaving variable is x4. Therefore, we replace it what? We replace it the row of x4 by x1. You can see that in the second table, x4 has been replaced by x1. And how we get these elements in the x1 row? We get them by dividing the previous elements of that row by the key element. The key element here was 4. And it was given by the intersection of the key row with the key column. Okay, it became the pivot element. तो previous row के जो भी elements हैं उसको हमने divide किया by this key element. Therefore, we got 4/4 as 1, 3/4, 0/4 is 0, and 1/4 is again 1/4. 24/4 came out to be 6. And after that, I told you that second table mein the basic variables are x3 and x1. Okay, they are x3 and x1. x3 और x1 के ऑर्डर में हमें एक आइडेंटिटी मैट्रिक्स आना चाहिए. सॉरी, दिस इज 1, 1 0 and 0 1. तो आपने देखा कि x1 के नीचे आना चाहिए 0 and 1. तो 0 हमें यहाँ पे लाना है, 1 ऑलरेडी आ गया है. x3 के नीचे आना चाहिए 1 and 0. x3 के नीचे आना चाहिए, यहाँ पे 1 आना चाहिए, 0 ऑलरेडी आ गया है. ओके, but now what is my aim, that under x1 it should be 0 comma 1. Okay, it should be 0 comma 0 by 1. Therefore my aim is to get what, a 0 here. And this has to be done by what, by doing some operation with the previous x3 row. The previous x3 row is here, the previous x3 row is here, and the new row which I have formed. Okay, जो वेरिएबल बेसिस में आ गया, कौन सा आ गया, x1. x1 की कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग ये रो बन गया. ठीक है, तो प्रीवियस x3 के बीच में और नए वाले एंटरिंग वेरिएबल के बीच में जो रोज है उनके बीच में करना है, ठीक है। देखो बेटा ये कौन सा था, ये था पाइवट रो। ओके, पाइवट रो का काम खत्म हो गया। नाउ वी डोंट हैव टू डू एनी ऑपरेशन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द पाइवट रो, बिकॉज पाइवट रो ने अपना काम किया। उसने क्या किया, जो नया वेरिएबल आ गया बेसिस में उसका रो बना के दिया, ठीक है। अब बचा कौन, अब बचा प्रीवियस बेसिक वेरिएबल। उसको, उस प्रीवियस बेसिक वेरिएबल को नया बेसिक वेरिएबल वो अपना ही, ठीक है। x3 is here, x3 is again here. Okay, we have to use previous x3 with new x1, and we have to do an operation between them to get these elements here. Okay, my aim is to get what, a 0 here, and that will be given by what, if I multiply this 1 by 3. Okay, अगर मैं इस 1 को 3 के साथ मल्टीप्लाई करूं, then I will subtract x3 minus x1. I will get a 0 here, isn't it? Therefore, my operation currently becomes, जो previous x3 था उसको मैं क्या कर रहा हूं, minus 3x1। ये हर किसी एलिमेंट के साथ आपको करना है। Okay, so what will happen here is, this will become 0। क्यों, मैंने इस रो को, ठीक है, इस वाले रो को जो x1 का रो है, इसको हर किसी के साथ, हर किसी एलिमेंट को 3 के साथ मल्टीप्लाई करना है। देयरफॉर इट विल बिकम 3, देन x3 minus this 3 will be 0। Okay, 3 minus 3 will be 0। Now can anyone tell what will we get here?
So 3 by 4.
3/4 को पहले हम मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे 3, बिकॉज हर किसी एलिमेंट को, इस रो में हर कोई भी एलिमेंट है उसको 3/4, 3 से मल्टीप्लाई करना है। सो 3 into 3/4, दैट विल बी व्हाट, 9/4। और वो किससे माइनस होगा, 3 से। ओके, दिस 3 minus this 9/4, 3 minus 9/4, that will be 12 minus 9 को 3, 3/4 वापस आ जाएगा ये, ठीक है। That is, we are performing operation between what, new row and this previous x3 row, and the operation is that we have to multiply all these elements by 3 and then subtract them from the corresponding elements in the previous x3 row। So बेटा अब बताइए मुझे इस वाली स्पेस में क्या आना चाहिए अब, what should be here in this space?
1.
Okay, simple. 0 multiplied by 3 is 0. 1 minus 0, that will be equal to 1. Tell me what will be here in this space?
0
minus 3 by 4.
1/4.
3/4, ठीक है। 1/4 multiplied by 3 is 3/4, then this 0 minus 3/4 will become minus 3/4। and similarly बताइए RHS के लिए भी यही होगा। ये मल्टीप्लाई करके 3, if we multiply this by 3, that will be 18। 21 minus 18 will become what? Okay, 6 into 3 is 18, then previous 21 minus this 18, that will be 3। Okay, 21 minus 18 will be 3। Fine, this is done here। Okay, this is done here। अब मुझे बताइए बेटा, इनके वैल्यूज तो यही रहेंगे ना, 10, 9, 0 एंड 0। चलिए बेटा अब मुझे बताइए व्हाट आर द वैल्यूज ऑफ Cj minus Zj here। पहले एलिमेंट के लिए क्या होगा Cj minus Zj? What will be the Cj minus Zj for here? जैसे पिछले टेबल में हमने कैलकुलेट किया वैसे ही यहाँ पे भी करना है।
10.
बताइए, गलत बता रहे हो आप।
10. 0.
0.
देखिए कैसे, Cj is 10, okay, Cj is 10, Zj is 0 into 0 is 0, plus 10 into 1 is 10, then 10 minus 10 will be what? 0, है ना। Zj यहाँ पे होगा 10, ठीक है। Zj means 0 plus 0 plus 0 into 0 plus 10 into 1, that is 10। Then Cj minus Zj, 10 minus 10 will be 0। अब बताइए यहाँ पे इस टेबल में क्या आएगा। If we try to do it here, okay, 0 into 3 by 4 is 0, plus 10 into 3 by 4 is 30 by 4. 9 minus 30 by 4, 9 minus 30 by 4 कितना आएगा ये? 6 by 4, and that will be equal to 3 by 2, isn't it? Is it so?
Yes, sir.
अब बताइए बेटा, यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? I think 0 होना चाहिए. 0 into 1 is 0, plus 10 into 0 is 0. Then this 0 minus this 0 will be 0. Okay. What about this? यहाँ पे इस एलिमेंट में क्या आ जाएगा? 0 into minus 3 by 4 is 0, plus 10 into 1 by 4 is 10 by 4. 10 by 4 means 5 by 2. Then C minus 5 by 2, that is, it will be minus 5 by 2. यही आएगा. आया
Yes,
ये
sir.
कहीं पे गलती तो नहीं हुई? ठीक है, चलिए आप बेटा मुझे बताइए यहाँ पे RHS में क्या आ जाएगा वैल्यू? RHS में C तो माइनस नहीं करना होता है, ठीक है. यहाँ पे भी हमने किया था 0 into 21 plus 0 into 24, that was 0. Now it will be 0 into 3 plus 10 into 6, that is what?
60.
60. Simple. याद करो दूसरी आइटरेशन में हमारा Z का वैल्यू क्या आया था? 60 आया था कि नहीं? Isn't it? और solution क्या आया था? If we recall the previous table, yes, see this. ठीक है, यहाँ पे देखो आप, x1 is 6, x3 is 3, and z came out to be 60. Okay, z came out to be 60. चलो अभी जो मैंने x3 का लिखा ना, ये क्या कहते हैं हम, उसके कोफिशिएंट यही आए थे. Okay, let's forget about this thing, but see that कल भी हमें जो दूसरा इटरेशन किया था उसमें सॉल्यूशन आया x1 is 6, x3 is 3, and z is equal to 60. अब आप यहाँ पे भी देखिए, the solution is same. The solution is same that in our table here. Yes, you can see that x3 is 3, x1 is 6, and our solution came out to be 60. Okay, now beta, tell me what will be the entering variable here? What will be? What will be the entering variable? I told you that entering variable is decided by the maximum positive value of Cj minus Zj. ठीक है, यहाँ पे भी लिखा है मैंने, the entering variable will be decided by maximum positive value of Cj minus Zj. If you look at the values of Cj minus Zj, the maximum positive value is 3 by 2, isn't it? नेगेटिव हमें कंसिडर ही नहीं करना है. अब पॉजिटिव कौन बचा? अब पॉजिटिव बचा 3 by 2. You can see that the maximum positive value is what? 3 by 2. Therefore, it will be what? It will be the entering variable. Okay. अब कौन सा है entering variable बताइए? x2, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
कल भी आया ना, फिर दूसरी आइटरेशन में जब हमने किया, x2 became the entering variable. Okay. Therefore, this second column now will be the key column. Okay. The second column will be the key column. And how we decide for the leaving variable, that is decided by the minimum positive value of theta. तो मुझे बताइए पहले रो के लिए थीटा क्या होगा? Theta is given by RHS divided by the corresponding element in the key column. बताइए अब थीटा क्या होगा पहले? What will be theta here? It is simply RHS. RHS is 3 divided by the corresponding element in the key column, that is 3 by 4. 3 divided by 3 by 4 is simply 4. What about this 6? RHS is 6 divided by the corresponding element in the key column, that is 3 by 4. Okay, that is 3 by 4. 6 divided by 3 by 4 कितना हो जाएगा ये? 8.
Yes, sir.
6 divided by 3 by 4 is 8. Now, which is the minimum positive value?
4.
Minimum positive value is 4, therefore it will decide that it will give us the indication of the leaving variable. Therefore the leaving variable is how what x3. Okay, it is x3 now. कल भी आपने देखा that in the second iteration x2 became the basic variable and x3 left the basis. Okay, and which is the key element here? The key element is given by the intersection of the key column with what? With the key row. Okay, and I will say that this is the pivot element here. Okay, this is the pivot element. Fine, is it clear? हर किसी को यहाँ तक? I hope it is clear. यहाँ तक सबको. This is what actually this is table 2. This is table 2. ठीक है, अब नए टेबल में टेबल 3 में क्या आ जाएगा बेसिक वेरिएबल? The basic variable will be x2. Okay, instead of x3 we will have x2. What happened to this? Just wait a second. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we need to go to the third table. So what I will do is, first of all, I will write the second table again, because इसमें operations करने होते हैं. Therefore, it will be difficult for me to go to the previous slide. Okay. Therefore, I will write table number 2 again. तो मुझे बताइए क्या क्या होता था यहाँ पे? I think this was CB, this was XB, this was X1, X2. आपको फिर से बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है, but I have changed the slide. Therefore, I would like to write the second table again. This is theta. This is CJ minus ZJ. यहाँ पे क्या क्या था बेसिक? मुझे बताइए फिर से.
x3 और x1.
X3, X1. Their cost coefficient was 0 and this was 10. अब एलिमेंट्स क्या आए थे यहाँ पे?
So 0.
0.
So 3/4.
3/4.
1 minus 3/4.
RHS.
So 3.
And what about this?
1 3/4. 0 1/4.
RHS.
6.
Theta.
4 और 8.
चलिए यहाँ पे क्या आया था? CJ minus ZJ.
0. 3/2. 0 और minus 5/2. और 60.
10, 9. Okay, so I have written the second table again. And what we had seen that the maximum positive value is here. Therefore, this becomes the entering variable and the minimum positive value. ठीक है, minimum positive value. कभी क्या आता है? 4 आता है. Suppose यहाँ पे -2 आया. अब minimum value कौन सा है? Although minimum is -2, but we have to select minimum positive. Okay, वो कल देखेंगे question में अगर आया. This is the leaving variable. Okay, x2 now becomes the entering variable and x2 becomes the enters basis. Okay? And x3 leaving. And we can see that the pivot element is this. This is the pivot element. It helps us to develop the new row in the new table. Okay, now I am going to draw the table number 3. Already made it here. Okay, I will make the table number 3 here. Now this will be for the basic variables. See here, x3 is now the leaving variable and it is replaced by x2. Therefore, in this column here, we will have x2 here. and x1 was as it is in the previous. इसका कोफिशिएंट क्या था? Sorry, it is 9, and this coefficient is 9 and this coefficient is 10. यहाँ पे जो कोफिशिएंट्स थे they were 10, 9, 0 and 0. The variables here, they will remain as they are: x1, x2, x3 and x4. यहाँ पे cj minus zj. ठीक है, तो बेटा मुझे बताइए अब मैं कौन सा रो लिखूं पहले, x2 का रो कि x1 का रो? कैसे लिखा था मैंने पिछले आइटरेशन में? क्या किया था मैंने? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट आई डू हियर इज जो की रो है, ठीक है, दिस इज द की रो, सेकंड रो इज द की रो एंड दिस इज द की कॉलम. की रो का जो भी एलिमेंट है उसको डिवाइड हमने किससे किया था? पाइवट एलिमेंट से और की एलिमेंट से. therefore I will start by writing the elements of this x1. ठीक है, I will start by writing the elements of this x1 row and they will be given by simply the division of the corresponding elements by the pivot element. तो बताइए यहाँ पे क्या आना चाहिए? क्या आना चाहिए यहाँ पे? सॉरी, आई थिंक पाइवट रो मैंने गलत लिया है. ओके, पाइवट एलिमेंट वाज ऊपर का जो 3/4 था. सॉरी. Okay, this is not the pivot element because the leaving row is the x3 row. Okay, the leaving row is x3 row, therefore this is the pivot. This is the pivot element here. Okay, pivot row is the first row because we have a leaving variable here and this is the key column. So इसके बेसिस पे मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? x3 मुझे अब पहले लिखना होगा. ठीक है, x3 को रिप्लेस किसने किया? x3 को रिप्लेस किया x2 ने. ओके, x3 has been replaced by x2. तो बताइए अब बेटा यहाँ पे एलिमेंट क्या आ जाएगा? What will be the element here? x3 will be replaced by x2 and x3 was the key row, it was the leaving variable row, and all the elements of the row x3 will be replaced by dividing the elements by the key element. So 0 by 3/4 is what? 0. 0 by 3/4 is 0. उसके बाद क्या आना चाहिए? This is 0 here. 3/4 divided by 3/4 will be what? 1. 1 divided by 3/4 will be what? I think 4/3. And minus 3/4 divided by 3/4, that will be equal to -1. And RHS 3 divided by 3/4 कितना आएगा ये? I think 4. 3 divided by 3/4, that will be equal to 4. This is RHS. This is theta here. Okay. So what we have done here is जो key element key row था. Okay, this was the key row. इसका काम अब खत्म हो गया. इसने क्या किया? इसने it helped us to make the new row. ठीक है, key row का जो ये basic variable था that was x3, but that has been replaced by x2 and we have used the previous key row to form this new row. Okay, उसके बाद क्या करना चाहिए? Now see the basic variables are in the order of x2 and x1. x2 and x1 इसी order में हमें क्या चाहिए? Identity matrix. Therefore what should we have is these values. x2 के ऊपर क्या आना चाहिए? 1 आना चाहिए. x2 के ऊपर 1 आ गया है. ठीक है, it will come automatically. x2 के ऊपर 1 आ गया. x1 के ऊपर क्या आना चाहिए? 0, तो वो भी यहाँ पे आ गया है. ठीक है, अब क्या आना चाहिए? x2 के नीचे 0 आना चाहिए. ठीक है, x2 के नीचे 0 आना चाहिए. यहाँ पे 1 and 0, therefore we should get a 0 here. Okay, we should get a 0 here. And now what we have to do? We have to perform an operation between the new row. हमने ये नया रो बनाया, with what, with the previous x1 रो, ठीक है। अब हमें नया x1 रो बनाना है, उसका ऑपरेशन होगा प्रीवियस x1 रो के साथ with what, with the new row format here, okay। चलिए बेटा मुझे बताइए कौन सा ऑपरेशन करना पड़ेगा so that we get a zero here, what should be the operation that we should perform to get a zero here, that is x2 के below 0 आना चाहिए, 1 1 and 0।
So x1 minus x3 वाला।
देखिए x2 के नीचे 0 कैसे आएगा, अगर हम मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, if we multiply new x2 row by 3/4, isn't it, then subtract, ऐसे ही आएगा।
Yes sir.
चलो मुझे क्या करना है, I will just mark it here, I primarily I have to focus on this 0, ठीक है। हम फोकस किस पे करते हैं, इस 0 पे। तो यहाँ पे जो 0 आ जाएगा वो किससे आ जाएगा, मुझे इसका ऑपरेशन करना है इसके साथ, this is 3/4, therefore if I multiply this by 3/4, then subtract it from this 3/4, I will get a 0 here. Therefore our operation is that multiply each element of this new row, new x2 row by 3/4, and then subtract each element from the previous x1 row, we will get the desired result, okay। Simple है अब, okay। So I got a 0 here, और कैसे मैंने यहाँ पे 0 लाया, by multiplying it by 3/4 and then subtracting it from this 3/4, okay। चलिए बताइए अब यहाँ पे इसको अब पहले मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे 3/4 के साथ, that will be 0 again, 1 minus 0, that will be what, 1, isn't it, correct, करेक्ट और नॉट, ठीक है। और हमें यही चाहिए भी था, ठीक है। आप देखो x2 के नीचे 1 0 आना चाहिए, वो आ गया 1 and 0, x1 के नीचे 0 और 1 आना चाहिए, वो 0 and 1 यहाँ पे आ गया, इट केम आउट टू बी। x3 को मल्टीप्लाई करना है किसके साथ, 3/4, 4/3 multiplied by 3/4 is 1, 0 minus 1 will be what, -1, okay। ये एलिमेंट मुझे बताइए यहाँ पे क्या आएगा फाइनली, what will be the element finally here, what should be the element here, -1 को मल्टीप्लाई करना है किसके साथ, 3/4 के साथ, therefore it will be -3/4। इसी को सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है किससे, we have to subtract it from 1/4, that is 1/4 minus -3/4, that will be 1/4 plus 3/4, that will be equal to what, 1, ठीक है। हम कर रहे हैं ना subtracting these elements from these elements, that is, ठीक है, 1/4 को माइनस करना है -3/4 के साथ, okay, that will, we will get 1। now tell me what will be the element here, यहाँ पे एलिमेंट क्या आ जाएगा अब RHS में, बताइए what will be the element here,
So 3.
table number 3, okay, let's see, RHS is 4 multiplied by 3/4, that will be 3, multiply 3/4 से करना है, yes, 3/4, that will be 3, and 6 minus 3, that will be 3, yes, you are correct, it will be 3, okay। So we got all these values, now we need to find the values of Cj minus Zj, जल्दी से बताओ what will be the Cj minus Zj here, 9 into 0 is 0, plus 10 into 1 is 10, 10 minus 10 will be what, 0। अब यहाँ पे बताइए Cj minus Zj क्या होगा, 9 into 1 is 9, plus 10 into 0 is 0, that is 9, 9 minus 9, it will again be 0। यहाँ पे Cj minus Zj क्या आ जाएगा, 9 into 4/3 is what, it will be 12, 12 minus 10 will be what? 12 minus 10 will be 2. 12 minus 10 will be 2. ठीक है ना? 9 4s are 36. 36 by 3 is 12 plus 10 minus 10 into minus 1, that is minus 10. 12 minus 2 will be 2. 0 minus 2 will be what? Minus 2. अब ऐसे ही बताइए यहाँ पे क्या आ जाएगा लास्ट में? 9 into minus 1 go minus 9 plus 10 into 1 is 10. 9 minus, sorry, minus 9 plus 10 is plus 1. 0 minus 1 will be what? Minus 1. ठीक है? RHS में क्या आ जाएगा? Simply 9 into 4 is what? 36 plus 10 into 3 is 30. 36 plus 30 will be 66. Okay. ठीक है? चलिए बेटा आप मुझे बताइए, what is the minimum positive value? What is the minimum positive value? Maximum positive value under the basic variables. ठीक है? मैं शायद यहाँ पे लिखना भूल गया. These have to be calculated under the basic variables. Okay? ये basic variables में देखना है. What is the maximum positive value under the basic variables of Cj minus Zj? What is the maximum positive value of Cj minus Zj under the basic variables? बताइए, है कुछ positive value?
No, sir.
There is no positive value of Cj minus Zj under the basic variables. Therefore, the simplex algorithm solution is what? X1 कितना आया? X1 came out to be 3, X2 is 4. Z optimum is what? 66. Okay. हमें देखना था अब एंटरिंग वेरिएबल कौन सा होगा. वो एंटरिंग वेरिएबल कौन डिसाइड करता है? मैक्सिमम पॉजिटिव वैल्यू ऑफ Cj माइनस Zj अंडर द बेसिक वेरिएबल्स, बट देयर वाज नो, इनफैक्ट इट वाज 0. ठीक है? पॉजिटिव वैल्यू कोई नहीं था. दैट इज द सिंपलेक्स एल्गोरिथम विल टर्मिनेट हियर and we get this as the desired.